So thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk about exploring digital-only editions with PageSuite. So in terms of an agenda, we'll do brief introductions for the speakers today. We'll talk about what are digital-only editions. So what do we see internally as an edition and what's a digital-only version of that? We'll talk you through some use cases from different clients we have using this system across the globe. We'll talk about some editorial benefits and also the commercial benefits of using digital-only editions. So it'll be myself, Simon Fry, presenting today along with Jamie. So my role at PageSuite is the Chief Product Officer. So I look after the design and development of both our end user applications and our client applications, like the content management system, the portal. My background is actually on the client side. So I used to work for a number of UK newspapers as head of product. I also worked for digital media companies such as Yahoo in the past as well.
Cool, and I'm Jamie Ollie. I'm Senior Account Manager here at PageSuite. I've been here over 10 years now, and I work with a lot of our leading publishing brands and groups across the EMEA, ensuring they're using our products in line with what they're looking to do strategically on the business side.
Okay, so what are digital-only editions? So internally, when we talk about an edition, we're talking about something that has a kind of start, middle, and an end. Something that is curated or edited by someone, so a collection of content that's been chosen, and it's generally a high value subscription product. It's usually something that is either based heavily on or not, if not a complete replica of an existing print product. So our digital editions that we see internally tend to be versions of newspapers, versions of magazines, or collections of content that is edited and put together as a distinct package. These are really, really popular products. The digital edition of newspapers tend to have really, really high levels of user engagement. And also they tend to be extremely valuable. So if you look at in-app purchase revenue across the board for applications, it tends to be paywalled apps that have edition-based content that drive the greatest average revenue per user. So at PageSuite, we have two kind of inputs for the creation of a digital-only edition. So a classic replica from a PDF where you'll upload a PDF or print-ready PDF pages to our system, and we will process them and make them available digitally, or digital-only editions, which we'll do through feeds. So we will take feeds from you, either from your content management system or another source, and we'll match those to HTML templates to create this print-like experience from those pages. In terms of the output, so we will output either a digital edition as a set of PDF pages. So we can take those HTML templates and feeds, generate the pages, and then render them as a PDF, send them to the existing PageSuite software, and then those pages will display in exactly the same way as the e-paper replica does now. Or we can output those pages as responsive HTML. So they can be sent to the device, and then rather than holding as an image or a PDF page, then they will respond to the device and move accordingly. So kind of two examples here. We've got McClatchy used this system to create their digital-only editions, and then they output those pages as PDFs. And as you can see here, it's exactly the same. Portrait and landscape, it's a single PDF page that's exactly the same in both orientations. And then with News UK, with the Times, we output the digital edition as responsive HTML. So you can see a slight difference here between the portrait version of the front page with the image on the right-hand side, and then the landscape version where the image moves to the middle. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Jamie now. He's going to talk us through some use cases.
Great, thanks, Simon. So yeah, so we're going to run through some of the use cases now to talk a little bit about why people use these products in line with what they're doing currently. So just to run through some of the feed edition use cases that we see. First one being creation of additional pages within the replica to add extra content, mainly due to pagination restrictions or early print deadlines. Evening editions, so to create additional points of engagement with the product. Special editions for sports or one-off events, creating part of the edition, then importing other pages, and finally the main use case that we're seeing as well is replacing print with a feed-based edition for either some or across all of the days that you publish. So just to go into those use cases in a bit more detail now. So with some examples, we've got the creation of additional pages in the replica. So McClatchy, which you can see on screen, are creating late news and sports news pages for their digital editions and adding these to the replica. Did you want to talk a little bit about that, Simon, at all? To give a bit more context.
So you can see here, if you look at the page browser across the bottom, you can see page 1 and 2 here. They've been created using the feed edition system. So these pages are generated by matching feeds to HTML templates, and then these pages are output as PDFs. And so page 1 and 2 are the additional pages that they've added to the digital edition here. Page 3 onwards is the existing print copy of the Idaho Statesman. So they do this to just add additional content that they couldn't put into the paper for whatever reason, and just gives greater engagement for their users as well.
Great, thanks. And then the next one being the evening edition. So the examples that you see on screen are from Chicago Tribune and Atlanta Journal-Constitution, both using the editions in slightly different ways, but albeit with an evening edition. So Chicago Tribune create a print-like edition to engage readers with a familiar product to the replica, whereas AJC use the newsletter content and output that as an edition, but both serve the purpose of an evening edition with the product.
Yeah, I think the main difference here is that at Tribune, they're creating this evening edition as a specific edition of content that they only send through this channel. Whereas with AJC, what they've done is taken an existing set of content that they produce for their evening newsletter, and then they're just in addition to putting it into the email, they're sending it to us to generate an evening edition within their PageSuite app and on the web as well. So for those users who get the digital edition of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in the morning, they've now got this additional edition in the evening as well.
Cool. And then there's the sports or one-off events. So with the Kansas City Star, McClatchy produce a sports edition every day, and that sits side by side with the replica product in the applications and on the web. But for the Sacramento Bee, they also used it for some one-off events for the duration of the NBA playoffs, and did like a playoff special. So again, it's two different use cases there around, either a particular vertical or around a particular event that's happening.
Yeah, and like you say, there's two slightly different uses of the platform there. In that at Kansas City, they're creating a separate publication that is that morning sports edition, whereas for the Sacramento Bee, they created those additional pages for the NBA coverage, and then they added those to the front of the existing edition. So readers didn't need to go into a different publication for that because it was just a temporary thing.
And then there's creating a new edition and importing PDFs. So the morning sports editions, as we sort of explained a little bit a moment ago, how some of these are put together, but the morning sports editions created with HTML pages up front and then PDF pages imported from a shared sports, news and data publication. So again, there's an illustration of how that appears in our PageSuite portal. So maybe Simon, if you just want to add a bit of context to that as well.
Yeah, so if you've got shared pages, or in this case, either image heavy pages or data heavy pages that might be more difficult for us to create an HTML template to represent those, then often it's better to pull those in as PDF pages. And because the system supports the creation of pages either as HTML templates with feeds or PDF pages that are imported in, you can mix and match those pages there.
And then there's replacing print with a digital only edition. So in Australia, News Corp Australia replaced a number of regional titles with digital only editions. These were created from a mixture of HTML templates and then imported back as PDF pages and then served to the purpose of the replica edition. So again, that's another interesting use case. If you've got particular localized editions, for example, where the cost of home delivery and production is becoming, quite costly, and that's a way that you can potentially use the platform to serve that still serve that audience, but reduce those overheads.
Yeah, so they're using the system in a similar way here to McClatchy in the creation of their digital editions. So these first kind of 10 pages are HTML templates matched with feeds, which we output then as PDF pages for the reader. And then they're pulling in the puzzles pages, the TV guide, those things that are more difficult to template. They're pulling those in as print ready pages into the back of this edition. But in this case, those pages are never printed. They're PDF pages that are generated, just sent to us to be digital only pages for that digital only edition.
Cool, and just to hand back to Simon now, just to talk through some of the editorial benefits of the product.
The main kind of benefit for an editorial team or a product team creating content here is that you can mix and match all of the content that you send to us. So whether there are PDF editions or single pages, feeds that we match up with templates, all of those can be created as pages within an edition. And so you can have a lot more flexibility in terms of creating either new content products or adding additional content to your existing PDF editions or digital editions. And really you can do this with it doesn't have to be current context as well. So you can mix up historical content with up-to-date news. You could include previous editions or coverage that you've had for sporting events or elections, and you can include then new content within feed edition pages up front as well. As we touched on before, it kind of allows you to cover more breaking news through the edition. So if a print deadlines are being brought forward and you're unable to cover like election night or late breaking sports news, you can create those pages with the feed-based edition system and generate pages that you then add into your existing digital edition, or you can provide them as a completely separate edition. So you might decide to create an election special that you run as an evening edition just for a week or so and create those additional pages covering that late breaking news through the same system. The nice thing for subscribers is, as we talked about at the top of the webinar, the edition-based product and the idea of an edition-based product is really, really high value for subscribers and really high value for customers. So providing the content in this kind of format is really popular with users and generates high levels of engagement. So the other thing you can do obviously is create completely standalone digital products. So these don't have to be based on a print product or have an associated edition-based product. So you can take content that exists from your web CMS or other feed content that you might have to create editions around either very specific topics or potentially regional or hyperlocal editions. So it gives you lots of flexibility to be able to take content that you've created elsewhere and then generate that as a print-like edition-based product. It doesn't need to be things that you do on the same kind of publishing cadence. So if you have like drips of kind of personal finance content that goes into your publication on a daily basis, you can bundle all that up together and create a weekly special or like a monthly real estate special that might be more image heavy than you use normally. So in terms of the editorial workflow, so the system works based around flat plans and schedules. So I'll show you a little video in a minute that gives you a wider demonstration, but essentially you create a flat plan for a publication, and then you run that flat plan to create the edition, and then you can edit the content that happens within that flat plan. So here you can see this is a flat plan within the system, has a business section which is tied to a business feed of existing content and a bunch of templates that exist within that business section. You can also import sections. So the system will allow you to import a section from any publication that you've sent to us, either a replica publication or another feed-based publication if you have that. So in this instance, we'll pull in the comics and puzzles section. You can import a section on the date that matches. So if you only want Wednesday's section to go into Wednesday's edition, you can do that. Or you can say, just fetch all of that content whenever it's ready. And then if we go into the edition creation, so that was the flat plan creation we were looking at, and then edition creation here. So you select the flat plan that we've created to create that edition, and when you want that publication to be created, you'll see that appears in the list of editions here on the top left. You can go and edit that edition. And then here you'll see all of the pages that have been generated when that edition has fetched the feed content and matched that feed content to the templates. So it creates all of the pages from the HTML that we asked it to create in the flat plan, but it also pulls in these PDF pages from this replica publication. And that's all generated when the edition gets created. You can see here, it's the same sections that we set up within the flat plan. It'll tell you how many pages you've got, and it now populates those templates with all of the feed content. And you can also see all of the articles that have been pulled in through the feed. The system will allow you to preview how the article might look in the article template. And also there's a text editor here, so you can make any changes you might need to the headlines or add additional images into the article or make any changes to the body copy that might be necessary. Within the edition pages themselves, you can make edits, change the story. So you can see there's a missing article here from the feed. So you'll be able to go and select more articles from all the feeds that you've associated to your flat plans. So we can add in another one here. And that will populate the preview on the left-hand side to show you that article content's been dragged in. Then if you want to change the order of those articles, you can drag and drop them around. Make sure you're happy with the layout of the page and you've made the best use of the images on there. And save that page, and that will update that draft edition. So the other thing you can do is change the template. So you've got a template here which has got a blank space, obviously doesn't fit the content quite as well as it could do. So we can change that template. And there's a set of templates that exist within a PageSuite library, and then a set of templates that exist within each client library. So we work with you to create these templates initially that match your fonts and your styles. So that changes the template there. And we can save that page change as well. And once you're happy with all of the changes that you've made to your edition, you can go and publish that. And you'll get an error if there's any missing articles. So if you've got pages that have got missing articles, the system won't allow you to publish with a blank space in there. So you'll get a warning that appears that will allow you to go back, find that page, and make that correction. And again, just go to the section or any section of content that you've pulled in that article there. You can see that that AFP story doesn't really fit. So we can remove that. Removing it from the page just changes this page and doesn't take the article out of the edition itself. You can add in another article there. That page will update on the left-hand side again. And then when you're happy with that, you can save it. And now all the pages are corrected. You can go to publish your edition. And then depending on how your edition is set up within the system, either this one will set up a replica job, so it will create a PDF from all of these pages that creates an edition. Or if you have responsive HTML editions, then that will publish that responsive HTML edition to your application or website. Okay, I'm going to hand back over to Jamie now. I'm going to talk through some of the commercial and audience benefits.
Cool, thanks, Simon. So yeah, basically, I think the first one that we'll cover off is increasing engagement. So we spoke obviously quite a bit earlier on about how these products are high value to the subscriber and they're really engaging. So the idea is that if you've got like an edition-based reader, a reader who prefers that, that format of consuming content, that you can provide additional edition-based content more often, creating additional touch points for the reader. So where that type of reader is already engaged quite heavily, if you can get them to go back more often, then obviously the value of the subscription to that consumer is higher, and therefore can help reduce churn, and like I said, potentially lead to the subscription being more valuable and then purchasing further. So the next option I think we're going to just quickly touch on is how it can be used as like an acquisition tool as well with these digital only editions. So you can incorporate unique digital only content within your subscriber user journey. So for example, creating a feed driven edition and placing it in front of the paywall, sample content for the user purchases. You could also then potentially tie it to edition-based digital only content to certain subscription packages, and put it across as an added benefit to the user if they take out a higher value subscription package. And then from a retention perspective, it can be quite a nice retention tool, just in the sense of, if a subscriber's taking out their edition-based subscription and they get this bonus digital-only content, it can be a nice added value piece for the subscriber, whether they interact with that content regularly or not. You're still providing them with extra value there. It can also, as we said a moment ago, increase usage of the product, making it more likely to form part of the consumer's daily habit. So if you can get people going back more often, they spend a lot of time in the edition, it will then naturally become part of their daily routine or weekly routine, and then become more valuable to the subscriber. And then also providing unique digital only content as part of a recurring premium based subscription package.
And I think this is probably where we're seeing the most kind of take up of the product at the moment is clients who are trying to use the additional digital only edition content as a retention tool for their existing subscribers. So when we talk about the examples where people are adding content to digital editions to provide additional content in there, or the example of the sports editions, just providing those to existing subscribers as part of their premium subscription package. Not only it re-engages the subscriber at a different time of day, but also makes them feel their subscription is more valuable, because all of a sudden they've got a new digital only product that's part of their subscription that wasn't there before.
Yeah, and then there's an advertising advantage to it potentially as well. So we can import print adverts within feed-driven pages. So Simon, I don't know if you just want to explain a little bit about that workflow.
Yeah, so in a similar way to the way that the flat plan is set up, we can set up a kind of commercial flat plan for the commercial team. They can then upload flat versions of the advert creative that exists within print, and in a similar way to the flat plan, and say they want to run these 3 adverts in the news section, these 4 adverts in the business section. Then when the edition gets created, when the pages are all pulled in, the adverts are pulled in at the same time and then distributed within those sections. It just allows you to potentially either upsell your print advertisers into a digital edition, or use creative that they've already provided to you in a different way.
Yeah, and then there's the option to create sort of spin-up products that could be sponsored by an advertiser, for example. So if you're creating this unique digital only content, you could, and you've got partnerships with, you have commercial partners such as retailers, etc. You could potentially get them to sponsor that additional content. And then you've also got the option to incorporate standard IAB ad placements within the Reader UI. So when we turn the feed-driven content back into a PDF, we can actually serve standard ad placements around the UI, and that's available across the web and through the SDK, Simon, right?
Yeah, so in the instance where we're taking these HTML templates and feeds and generating the output as a PDF, then that PDF gets consumed in exactly the same way as any PDF you send us through the PageSuite system. So if you have an ad map on the Reader, so you have banner ads or skyscrapers or MPUs that exist around the pages, then they'll be the same. You'll be able to use them in the same way, and there's the same IAB ad placements within the article view for those placements between the paragraphs in the article text. Okay, well, that's what we had to present today in terms of digital only editions, how you can use them, what the benefits might be. Any questions?
I think we've had a couple come in. So the first one was, how long roughly does it take to put together a digital only edition?
Okay, so I think obviously the video showed you that it can be a really, really quick process, but the reality is that I think a lot of clients are spending a lot more time in terms of the checking and curating those editions once it's been created. But again, it's not a massive amount of time. We're probably seeing 1 to 2 people spending about an hour on the edition to check it over and then publish it. That's often because the content that you send us is content from a CMS where you've already checked the copy and decided that it's good enough to send over in the first place.
Cool. And then there's another question. Do you have any templates that are more suited to a magazine versus a newspaper?
Yeah, so we do have some templates that are more of a magazine style. There are some that News UK are using for their Sunday Times Magazine and Style Magazine, Culture Magazine supplements, but predominantly they are text-heavy templates. And so if you had very, very image heavy magazine content, I would suggest the best way to handle that would be to mix and match some of those magazine style templates that we've got for those clients, and then pull in PDF pages or print ready pages as well, so that you can handle things where you've got, you know, lots and lots of images on the page and they're not following any kind of formatted grid.
Cool. Quite a few questions coming in, Simon. So we've got are click tags supported in the e-reader for ads?
So within the e-reader, there's a standard Google Ad Manager integration. So they will support any kind of tracking and tags that you'd be used to. So hopefully that answers the question.
Great. And then are there any SEO benefits to our website of a PageSuite digital only edition?
I think if the content that you're sending to us is different to, or significantly different to, the content that you display on the website, then there could potentially be SEO benefits. Where you might not see that is if you're already registering that content for your website and then you send it to us and it's exactly the same, then potentially that might be a duplication issue. But that's something that we could look at in terms of the implementation and how we handle robots, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. And then I think the next two questions sort of time with one another, so I'll reel them both off together. Is there a variety of templates to use, or do users have to stick to one or two templates? And is it possible to add new templates? With the second question being, how do you work with your clients to create the templates? So I think that they go hand in hand, those ones.
Yeah, so I think as may have seen briefly in the video, so there's a selection of templates that are available at a PageSuite level. So they're available for all clients, and they're just some kind of basic templates that we laid out initially when building the system. So the edition that was generated on the video, that uses all of the PageSuite standard templates. So there's a fair variety of those that are available. And then generally we work with clients to create the templates in that either they will want a slight variation of those existing templates. Obviously, we tend to pull in different fonts and caption styling, byline styling, that kind of thing. So they tend to be, those kind of things are fairly minor changes. The header, like sort of masthead on the pages, is set within the application itself. So a standard template can be used across lots of different titles and pull in the different masthead without any additional work. And if there are like dramatic changes to the templates, or people want a very different style, then we work with you on developing those.
Okay, great. And the next one is coming in thick and fast. Do we have any newsletter integrations using HTML?
So at the moment, the only newsletter integration we've got is generating that newsletter as a PDF page, and then the article pages that sit off the back of that are HTML web views. But we haven't done a responsive newsletter style edition yet, although the system is perfectly set up to do that, because we can output either as HTML or as a PDF.
Okay.
You missed one there, Jamie, from Sonia. So
can the extra pages be added?
Yeah, so you can add pages anywhere in the edition. So you can, once the edition's been generated, you can add them either you can either add a section, or you can add a page, you can import a page, you can upload a single PDF page, or you can create a new HTML page and pull in content from that in the same way that we saw that page being added. So you can do that at any point once the edition's created, or you can do it beforehand in the flat plan itself.
Okay, great. And then the next one is, can you explain the pricing structure for the new approach for clients who currently use the PDF version? Well, I think maybe I can take that one, Simon, possibly. So I think that really just depends on what your use case is, and I think what you're looking to achieve with the product. So I think if you would like more specific information on that, if you reach out to your account manager, they should be able to assist with that one. But typically, obviously, you'll be looking at depending on whether you wish for some sort of specifically designed templates. There may be some setup associated with that, and depending on what your current license agreement is, there might be some adjustments to that. And then it was, do we have any B2B or trade magazines using these templates? In brackets, more news and data than B2C.
So I don't know of any B2B or trade magazines that are using this system yet. So I don't think we have any specific templates around that, but I would imagine that it wouldn't be a big stretch for us to support that kind of content through manipulation of the existing templates.
Yeah, and then can we upload JavaScript charts such as Highcharts or Google Charts?
So yes, you can do that into either the article itself, which is an HTML view, or if you output your edition as responsive HTML, that will support charts and data in that way. Obviously, if you turn the edition page into a PDF, then it won't render any kind of JavaScript, but usually there is some kind of fallback image that you can use in that instance.
Okay, and is the longer term plan to retire the standard PDF version?
So no, so the plan for our perspective is that the all of the Pages systems, so the web reader and the app SDK will now support both PDFs and digital only editions. So you can choose to continue to use standard PDF and send us those pages in the same way, or you can create this additional content through digital only editions, and that it will be effectively backwards compatible through the PageSuite system.
Okay, and then there's some feedback regarding tracking and monitoring, which has been requested to feedback, so we'll feed that back. And the next question was, can the digital edition pull in content from a CMS built using the Bootstrap Rise programming language?
So that's a good question to which I don't have the answer, but generally, if you can supply a feed either in RSS, XML, or JSON format, then we can consume that feed and pull the content out of it. So I would imagine that would work, but I haven't got experience of that specifically. Okay.
There was another one regarding how much does it cost. So I think we sort of covered that a little bit earlier in a previous question. And then the next one was, does the responsive HTML version provide DRM, and can it protect the copyright?
So there's no function for DRM within the system as it stands. So there's obviously authentication for the end user into the application or the digital edition itself, but there's no DRM function as it stands.
Okay, and then the final question that we have at the moment is, can content links be created to point to other pages that are located in other editions?
So I don't think that is something that we have done yet in terms of supporting a link from one edition to another edition. But there's no reason why that couldn't work if we set up a relative URL structure.
Great. I think that's all of the questions that are coming currently. So if there's any more questions, please submit them now. Okay, I think we're all good.
Okay. Just to say, I should have actually missed this at the start, but we have recorded the session, and so we can provide a recording of the session if you'd be interested in receiving that. Thank you all very much for your time. Hopefully it's been useful, and you've learned something about what we do with digital editions at PageSuite, and any other questions that you might have following the session, then please do send them in and we will contact you back.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.